Hey there! I wanted to do a video for everybody. I got the Pioneer Woman Hamilton Breadmaker, and I really want to give it a try. So I thought that we would go ahead and get it set up together, and we can go ahead and do one of the first recipes that everybody claims is what you should do first, is just a basic white loaf of bread. So that's what we'll do. So we can give this a try and see how it works. Let's check out some of the items that come with your bread machine. You get, of course, a book that has some recipes. So that is where I will go ahead and get the recipe for the basic white loaf of bread. And what else? We have inside, comes with a measuring cup, a measuring spoon. We have the, I'm going to call it a toggle, but I know that's not the proper name. I will look up the proper name. What is that? Okay, we'll think of that. And it has this little nifty tool that you will use to remove this from the bread after you're done baking it. Sometimes this will still be lodged in the bottom of your bread after it's been baked, and you'll go ahead and use that little tool to remove it. Alrighty, let's keep on going checking this out. Okay, and just to keep it straight, it is not a toggle. It is a kneading paddle, and then this is the paddle hook. So kneading paddle and the paddle hook. This way I will use the proper terminology. You know. All right, let's check out our manual. I want to see what we need to do first to get this set up to use. I'm assuming I just probably need to just wash all the parts, but we'll go ahead and just double check that together. There's the parts and features. Here's the explanation of the control panel. What I really love is that it has these pre-programmed cycles. So when we start making bread, and those are also marked on the top of the machine, we'll just go ahead and enter in the correct number for what we're making. Here's an explanation of what those program cycles do and when to use them. Okay, this is what I was looking for, the how to use before the first use. Check for any missing or damaged parts. Clean all the parts according to the care and cleaning section. I'll go ahead and check that out too. And then, yes, we need to set the bread maker on bake mode and bake empty for about 10 minutes. That is going to bake off any of this plastic smell that might be in there. So, and that only comes from, these items were wrapped in plastic and they were inside of the machine here in a plastic bag. So just from having the plastic sit in there for a while before it's been purchased, you get a little bit of that plastic smell and you just need to burn it off. So we'll go ahead and do that as well. Yeah, let's go ahead and we'll do that together. All right, here is the care and cleaning. To clean the kneading paddle, you could do it, you can do it within the machine if you're having a difficult time removing, which I hope isn't difficult. I can't see why it would be so difficult. But you can do it, you can clean it within the machine, or it's also dishwasher safe and or just wash with a sponge. And I'm going to do the same with the bread pan. I will go ahead and wash it with some soap and water with a sponge. Alrighty, I got all of my parts are cleaned. I'm gonna go ahead and put the bread pan into the machine, and it sets into place here. You just kind of have to feel where it sets in. There we go. Okay, got it in. This is unlock, and this is locked. So I'm gonna take that pan and push it towards lock, and now it is locked in place. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead now and run it for 10 minutes. I realize I probably didn't need to wash everything already because I'm gonna wanna wash this again after doing this 10-minute cycle to burn off any of the smells. We might also see some steam coming out the top as we're doing it, but we're gonna go ahead and do it together and see how it goes. So I'm gonna close the lid and I will plug it in. Alrighty, and then we want to use the bake mode and bake empty for 10 minutes. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and find the bake mode. Okay, so when you plug in the machine, it automatically sets itself to number 1 for basic bread, but we want bake mode, and bake mode is number 13. So using the menu button here, I will just press this until, can you see that? Yeah, until we get to 13. Alrighty, and then I'm gonna go ahead and hit start. And we're only gonna run this for 10 minutes, just to bake off any smell that might be lingering before we get started with baking our first loaf of bread. Okay, so I have now rewashed my bread pan, put it back in. It's in the locked position. It's nice and sturdy in there. We're gonna go ahead and we are going to do our first loaf of bread. I went ahead and I did that 10-minute burn off. Definitely make sure you give yourself the time to do that burn off mode because there is definitely an odor that needs to be burnt off and you don't want to ruin your first loaf of bread. Alrighty, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna make a basic white loaf and we're gonna make a 2-pound one. One of the things that's important to keep in mind when you're working on a bread machine recipe is that you put the ingredients into your bread pan in the order that they are listed in the recipe. That is very important. There are certain ingredients that cannot, like the yeast, you don't want touching any of your wet ingredients. So you always have your wet ingredients on the bottom and then your layer of flour on top of that, and then you'll have the yeast on top of the flour, keeping it separated until it's actually going ahead and mixing all the ingredients together. Okay, so let's go ahead and we are going to do that. We're going to start putting our ingredients into the pan in the order that they are listed, and I am using the recipe from the book for their basic white loaf. We're going to go ahead, and another important thing, when you are putting water in, you want to warm up the water. So I'm going to go ahead and put in 1 1/3 cups of warm water. Then we need to put in 1 1/2 teaspoons of salt. My cute little pioneer woman. All right, putting our salt in. We want to put in 2 tablespoons of sugar, also another cute bowl. 2 tablespoons of sugar. We need 1/4 cup of butter or vegetable oil. I'm going to be using vegetable oil. Alrighty, let's go ahead and add that vegetable oil in. Next ingredient is going to be the flour. For a 2-pound loaf, we need 4 1/2 cups of bread flour. Okay, let's go ahead and get our first cup in. We need 4 1/2. Second cup. Third cup. Our 4th cup and 1/2. Alrighty, so we have 4 1/2 cups of bread flour now. And our last ingredient is going to be bread machine yeast. This is the bread machine yeast. So they sell it and it says bread machine yeast, or you can also use instant yeast. It is the same. So I'll be going ahead and putting in 1 3/4 teaspoons of the yeast, and I'm just gonna keep that within the flour. I don't want it to touch any of the wet at the bottom. Okay, so let's go ahead and put our yeast in. We need, like I said, 1 3/4 teaspoons. So I'm just going to put that on top of the flour. 1 3/4 teaspoons. Here is a half. That was just 1. There is a half. And here is a 1/4. Okay, so 1 3/4 has been put in, and we are ready to start cooking this. All right, let's go ahead and get this started. We're gonna close our lid, and for the basic bread, we are going to press the menu button and select number 1. All right, you want to go ahead and program in your loaf size. I actually already was on 2 pounds. That's it there. And then we want to go ahead and set the crust color to medium. And then we're just going to hit start. Can you see that? Actually, we can, while it's doing, oh no, we can't see it at all. Okay. Alrighty. So we are officially starting the kneading process, or I guess actually the mixing process. Alright, let's take a peek. See how it's doing. It was just kneading and it just stopped. Look at that. That looks perfect. Alrighty, so I'm gonna go ahead and close this back up and let it do its thing. Just keep in mind, you can continue to open this lid up until the point that it starts baking. Once it starts baking your bread, do not open that lid any longer. Alrighty, it is now 2 hours and 30 minutes left. It is still kneading and still looking beautiful. Okay, we have 1 hour, 36 minutes left. And the bread is now poofing. I have 54 minutes left, and I could smell it as I was walking into the room. It is definitely baking now. I have noticed that it does get a little bit warm on the sides. It is not super hot. Well, it's a little bit, actually it is pretty hot up here, not as hot down here. So you want to just keep that in mind if you have kids or animals, to just kind of keep them away while it is in the bake mode. We have 29 minutes left, and we can see that it is starting to look like a loaf of bread. I can't wait until this is done. It is now done. I'm gonna lift this up and take a peek, and there we go. So now I'll remove it, and we'll go ahead and let it start cooling down a little bit. Alrighty, I'm gonna go ahead and take our bread out. I unlocked it. Here we go. Look at that. Okay, I think this is gonna slide right out for us. It is. Look at that. It's beautiful. And my paddle's still in there, so I don't have to worry about it being in the bread. All right, let's try cutting this bread. It's still pretty warm, but I want to give it a cut and see what it looks like. Look at that. That looks amazing.